So, Mark, did you see the new innovative design of the faucets at Excalibur? They're flexible, they move around so you can spray water wherever you want. This is a feature, not a flaw, right?
Yeah, I know C Note's going to be super happy that we're, putting Dirty Castle front and center. And I don't even think it was like bolted into the wall or anything. It was just moving around all over the place. It's kind of crazy.
I mean, it's Excalibur. It has this reputation now. Everybody likes to crap on it as a place. So, why not live up to the reputation a bit?
They had to save money for the center bar somewhere. So, I mean, you got to cut costs around the corner. We got our bar, though, so it's all good, right?
Totally worth it. So an interesting thing happened this week. FTC came in and said that they're going to ban non-compete agreements, which are something that's used all over Las Vegas. And we've had those high-profile lawsuits with Wynn and Fontainebleau, largely related to non-competes. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I understand what the law is going to be exactly and how this is going to affect that lawsuit. But basically, as of when this rule takes effect, all non-competes will be gone except for senior level executives. And even in that case, they can't have new non-competes. They'll be able to serve out the ones that exist. So that seems like it's going to be a huge change for the gaming industry.
Yeah, I think all industries. I mean, really, I know we're focusing on gaming industry, but this is big. I've never been one to be in favor of the non-competes because, my father went through this when he got laid off. He had to move out of state because he couldn't work anywhere in the state in the same industry. It was the industry he was in for 25 years at that point. You can't really switch careers just because you have a non-compete. I never thought they were right. I understand like an NDA or not disclosing secrets or, poaching customers, stuff like that. I think you can have those things in place, but to just say you can't work within so many miles has always been crazy to me. But yeah, it'll be really interesting in Vegas where it's just kind of people, moving around a lot and going from one place to the next. And does that make it this happen more often? And we're kind of seeing that in college athletics with NIL and transfers. And is this just going to be the next big thing where people are hopping all over the place for the highest deal?
It seems like that could happen. It could be a free-for-all among employees, but we don't really know exactly how the inner workings. This will just sort of make casinos and companies have to try to keep their employees happier, I suppose. And they say this is going to create new businesses and new jobs by freeing up people to compete, whether they start their own business or they go work for a competitor. And in a city like Las Vegas, where it's sort of a unique opportunity for some people, I could see a lot of cross poaching happening. But I don't know. Do you think this lawsuit has to go away, right? This Fontainebleau Wynn lawsuit?
I don't know the legality of it all. It could still play in, especially if they're higher up people that are part of the lawsuit. Are you going to throw good money in after bad, knowing that there's a new roadblock in place? Maybe spend that money on making your Wynn employees happy so they don't go to Fontainebleau in the first place. I don't know.
Yeah, let us know in the comments what you guys think about this non-competes in Vegas, how this is going to change everything. But let's talk Golden Knights, Mark. They had a great start to the season, very strong, and then they stumbled a bit. And then they got into the playoff as the second wild card, so basically the number 8 seed. But they are up 2-0 against the Dallas Stars. They just beat them 3-1 on Wednesday night, and they're coming back to Vegas, up in this series. Let's get another Stanley Cup.
Yeah, they have the history of winning. A lot of people on the team were there during Stanley Cup, so you have that aspect of it. It's not like they haven't been there before. They've been a successful team since launch, which is crazy. Usually it takes a decade for a new team to really find their way. But hockey's the weirdest of all the playoffs where 8 seeds knocking off 1 seed and stuff isn't that rare. It happens, and it's just kind of like once you get in, anybody has a chance. The puck bounces weird ways sometimes, so I think they got a shot as much as anybody, and 2-0 lead, they should move on.
Yeah, they're coming back home to play here, and hopefully they'll close it out in 2 more games, but it is great to see the Golden Knights doing well in the playoffs. Hopefully another deep run. Lots of excitement in the city right now for them and watch parties all over, and so excited about that. On the last show, Mark, we talked about Wynn's president stepping down and sort of the repercussions. No drama there, but he's sort of moving on. And we also learned this week that Rio's president is stepping down. Trevor Scherer, who is the person who's basically overseen the transition from Caesars into Rio, the start of the renovations that's bringing Dreamscape's vision there. Vital Vegas says Rio already feels like a new resort. I'm not quite sure I would go that far yet, but he's done a great job on, starting to see this transition, and he's moving on apparently for health reasons. So not a huge shakeup there, but this could change the direction of Rio. There's still many, many years to go before that place is all new.
Yeah, I think anything that, when you have a changeover like this and a redevelopment and everything, it's stressful. It's intense. That's kind of the time that people are like, you know what, I'm burned out. Let me get out of here. Especially if you have health issues. I can see why that would play a factor versus just going the day to day. Like if it was 3 years from now when they have everything kind of smooth sailing, it might not be the same type of decision that he would have made. So I love that he brought up the table and how the guy noticed that, look, the Fred Flintstone table, I'm guessing, and said how he liked it. And I'm like, what? And then the guy's like, yeah, we were worried about the maids being able to move that around, but we got these things. I'm like, maybe you should have just taken that as a sign not to put that piece of steak in there.
It's a great table, Mark, and it's heavy. So I'm surprised that they did anyway. But yeah, they have a good solution for the maids to do that and thinking about the little details. And I think that makes the room unique. It's the single most unique thing in the room, and they should absolutely be proud of those Fred Flintstone tables.
You know who doesn't think about the little details?
Who?
Excalibur when it comes to sinks.
Well, you can't get everything in Vegas.
A little caulk goes a long way. Yeah, I mean, come on.
Well, speaking of construction, Mark, let's move over to Paris and their Versailles Tower. They're starting to put on the balconies on those end rooms. And we saw a picture from Vital Vegas, from James in Vegas, showing the bridge is finally starting to go in, some of the framing for the bridge. This should move pretty quickly, but still a ways to go to get the whole thing up and running. It's still strange that the Versailles rooms have been online for months now. The bridge is probably still a couple months away, and the balconies too, but slowly this will become part of Paris.
Doesn't seem like it should be that difficult. I mean, it's like right there, you just do it. It looks weird too. Are they building it like where you walk out and then you walk perpendicular and then over again? Like, why is it so wide looking? And you think you just make a quick thing like across? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it has to line up. I'm not quite sure. That picture, maybe they were moving it around. I guess that people who are staying in the Versailles Tower would have rather been at Horseshoe with those lines we saw the other day. So maybe it's not an upgrade in that way. But it is taking forever. Clearly money was an issue, and getting those new rooms online first, getting them being sold at a higher rate was the priority. And now you'll get all the amenities and everything after.
Amenities, you can walk to the hotel you're supposed to be at. Yeah, what an amenity.
I mean, is it too much to ask? I don't know. As a reminder, we have our Patreon. $5 a month gets you access to our weekly after show. Patreon.com/MTM Vegas for all the details. Fun show every week. Love the community. Thanks to everybody who supports us over there. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about the Brightline high-speed train and a little bit of a misstep that I had on the last show and clarifying a few things. So I said the drive from Rancho Cucamonga to Las Vegas was 2 hours, 45 minutes. People chimed in that it's 3.5, 4 hours. It's 220 miles, so I would say at the speed limit, you're just about 3 hours, but more likely 3.5 hours, depending on, normal traffic there. So I maybe undersold that a little bit. And I said that the train travel time was about 3 hours, and that was sort of quoted getting to the station, getting from the station, but the actual train time, 2 hours, 10 minutes. And they quoted in their recent press release about 2 hours, but I dug back, 2 hours, 10 minutes is what they say. So just to clarify all that for everybody mad at me, we support the train and we want it to be successful. Will it be? That's not for us to tell.
Yeah, I think that makes a difference. That's why I was a little bit surprised that it seemed like it was going to be similar to the car ride. And once you get to like 2, 3, definitely 4 people, the cost, isn't there if the time savings isn't quite a bit, or if you can get other things done while you're on the train versus driving, that can make it worth it and stuff. And it will come down to price point. We said they quoted upwards of 400, which we even commented is weird because it's years away. Who knows what prices will be like, or inflation and all that stuff. But if it's that much more than flying or driving, I don't know that it will be super successful. We'll have to wait and see what they come to. Hopefully they come up with some pricing that works. I mean, 2 hours and 10 minutes, that's kind of nice. And you can just relax and not have to focus on the road or deal with traffic. Oh, traffic's the worst.
Yeah, and traffic is going to be crazy on the weekends, and there's a lot of reasons for this. A lot of people for this, a lot of people against this. Very interesting comments. Thanks to everybody who left comments there. On to a good story, I suppose, Mark, and that's paying your parking tickets with school supplies. That's what the city of Las Vegas is doing with this new program from May 1st to June 14th. So if you get a ticket during that time in the city of Las Vegas, then you can, instead of paying the city a fine, you just donate school supplies worth whatever the fine would be. This has been apparently done before. They passed a law in 2016 allowing this, and I think it's super unique and cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you donate school supplies anyway, isn't this just like a get out of jail free card? Like, hey, I was going to donate these supplies. Now I can park anywhere I want. And I think that's kind of awesome. But my fear, I think it's a cool idea. I love helping out the schools. My fear is people will be like, oh, that extra step or two isn't really worth it to me. I don't want to go do it. It's kind of a hassle. Somebody else will do it. So that's good for the schools. And that's what everybody will think. Versus if they just said, hey, 25% of your fine is going to go to schools or whatever it be, that would probably help out a bit more. But I love that they're doing it. It is something I've never heard of anywhere else. So I wouldn't mind getting a parking fine at that point.
Okay, you say that now, but come on, let's be honest.
If I can park right in front of somewhere and run in and save myself, 30 minutes driving around a parking lot and stuff, and or or at Fountain Blue where people take forever to get out because the setup's really terrible. Maybe that's worth a fine. Just park it right on the strip and go out and gamble and come back to your car, pay that fine. There you go.
Except that's not in the city of Las Vegas, so you're out of luck. That would be Clark County, so bad plan.
Dang it.
So a friend of ours finally got to check out Papi Steak. You could see he didn't get the $1,000 steak in a suitcase, but you could see across the dining room somebody getting it there. I think he had a ribeye that he shared with his wife, said it was really good. The atmosphere kind of interesting in there. Nice to hear a firsthand perspective. Said it was half empty though during the week, which I've heard about a lot of the restaurants at Fountain Blue that they are very quiet during off periods.
Yeah, I think that's expected because the prices are so high. It's not like you're going to get that local traffic in there. The value's just not there. It's really tourism driven, and you just don't have the same amount of tourists and people with the spending budget during the week. I mean, if Fountain Blue would have opened 10 years ago when everybody had expense budgets and there was corporate things going on all the time, they wouldn't care. But it's a different world out there right now, and I just wonder, like, do you think one of these steaks goes out every night?
I think so. It has to be, right? This is Las Vegas. There's got to be somebody. And while there may not be expense accounts as wide as maybe before, convention traffic is certainly up. And there are people with nice expense accounts who have to just do that. And just people with money. I feel like with the show they put on, it's made for that. And they have to do at least one a night.
Yeah, I mean, every time I see it, though, I just think of the Waiting movie. Have you ever seen that? Where they're like, I need birthday singers, and everybody's like, I wonder if they're when they're like, I need steak people, I need party people, if they're like, crap, or maybe they each get like a $25 bonus off of doing this. I don't know, but it's a unique atmosphere. Not anything you would expect from a steakhouse. It feels more like a club in there with like siren lights going off and everything, and just the decor and everything. It doesn't scream high-end steakhouse, which some people will love and some people will hate.
I still think one of the coolest jobs in Vegas is branding the steak. I'm the guy who brands the steak at Papi Steak. That is a great job, and it would look great on any resume.
I wonder if they throw away the suitcase after every use. Do they wash it? Like, how does that all work with salmonella and everything else?
So many questions. We need a backstage tour. Papi Steak,
Yeah.
hit us up. So we got a timeline on the Trop implosion. Bally's filed for a permit, and they still owe $48,000 in permitting fees, apparently. But once that's all taken care of, they have until October 20th to implode the Tropicana. Their CEO said they're going to do it sometime in September or October. Really depends on the demolition company. But before October 20th, that's when we should see the Tropicana come down.
Yeah, it's going to be a sad day for you, I know, and lots of others. And don't stand too close. Remember the asbestos. Maybe watch it from inside a window somewhere.
Don't be scaring people. They're going to remove the asbestos. I don't want to be people saying we're starting conspiracy theories.
From behind the window. I don't need all that hate either. Not inside a window. Okay. Behind a window.
The fence is already going up. The fence is going to cost like millions of dollars, $500,000 or something crazy, going up around the property as well. So yeah, we'll slowly see it sort of shrink away. They're still doing the liquidation sale, but they haven't announced a public date. They're still doing those appointments. So hopefully they'll open up a date for the public to kind of go in there. But I guess they don't want the looky-loos messing around. They want people who are really serious about buying it. But how many people are going to make an appointment and buy a ton of stuff? I feel like people buy one thing or two things, but not everything.
You don't want like 15 stained mattresses in your house?
I mean, if I'm going to open a motel out in the woods or something, I don't know, maybe. And let's close with this. The Gaming Control Board has released the numbers for March 2024, and they're sort of negative. I mean, not negative when you look at the overall scope and just how much boom we've had over the last few years in the gaming space, but there is a 1.7% decline statewide in revenue, including a 1.6% drop in Clark County, and the state's 444 licensed casinos won $1.29 billion, but the ones in Clark County alone, $1.132 billion. So we're still over $1 billion. I don't know how many months or years it's been now, but down slightly from a year ago, which was a record month for sure.
Yeah, I think that's the key is it's still over a billion. I think as long as it's over a billion, they're still doing really well and the prices will still stay high. You need to dip down. I mean, when this first happened, when they first got over a billion, we were like, oh wow. And now it's been it feels like it's expected, which is kind of crazy. So we'll have to see, does this keep going or do we start to trend back towards mean? We thought this would happen last year where we'd start to see it dip a bit and people coming out with less money and not willing to pay the prices, especially the room rates and everything. And it really hasn't. I mean, 1% isn't a lot. I mean, I know it is a big number overall because the numbers we're dealing with are large. But when you look at that perspective, it's not a huge dip from year to year, especially coming off a high. So it's still above what it was before the pandemic, and that's good. So it's gonna just stay where it is, I think.
The hottest gaming market in Nevada in March, Wendover, Nevada, up 7%. So hot in Wendover.
Where is
Unfortunately,
that?
down it's up north somewhere. And unfortunately, downtown Las Vegas hurt the most. They were down 12.9% from March of 2023 to 76.2 million. So that's a significant drop for downtown. And they have more of a mix of local and tourism, but it's certainly noticeable. But again, they're coming down from record highs, and this is sort of to be expected. We couldn't expect these gangbuster numbers to last, and they're still well above what they were years ago.
Yeah, I'm not too surprised by downtown. I mean, if you remember the stories we were talking about when we make jokes about having kids out there on midnight and how busy everything was, and there's just people packed everywhere. It was like the spot for whatever reason that everybody wanted to go coming out of the pandemic, and maybe that's cooled off a bit and gotten back to where it was, before all this, where it was, a place a lot of people wanted to go, but it wasn't the place, and we're kind of working our way back towards that, and it makes a lot of sense. But I'm sure there's still when you have a great year and then the next year you dip, everybody starts to worry. You get cuts, you don't get those bonuses, all that stuff when it's really nothing you can do. It's just the ebb and flow of things.
And now there's no non-compete, so they can all just, run and go to the next casino and make it better. So that's the future.
Yeah, it's a free agent market. Maybe it'll be like food trucks where a dealer will be like, hey, on Tuesday I'm at this place, come see me. On Wednesday I'm at this place, come see me.
I love it. That ties in the street vendors. We're all good. All the stories from the recent weeks all tied together. So let us know what you guys think about anything we talked about today. The FTC non-competes, weigh in more on the train, giving school supplies instead of parking fines, everything we talked about, the gaming numbers as well. Hit us up in the comments. We do 2 shows a week, Tuesdays and Fridays, and we'll be back in a couple days with another show. Thanks so much for watching. Talk to you next time.
I just want to make it clear that I said caulk, as in caulk.
Speaking of that, I drove by Universal's Horror Unleashed the other day.